Sophia Williams, a dedicated and skilled Black nurse, steps into Hopewell Medical Center for her first day, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and anxiety. She has dreamt of this moment for years, fueled by her passion for helping others and a commitment to providing quality care. As she enters the bustling lobby, she takes in the bright lights and the sounds of nurses and doctors moving quickly to attend to patients. The smell of antiseptic hangs in the air, a familiar scent that she associates with healing and hope. Yet, as she moves deeper into the facility, her anticipation is quickly dampened by an unsettling atmosphere. A chill seems to hang in the air. From the moment she walks through the doors, Sophia notices the way the staff interacts, or rather, doesn't interact with her. Nurses and doctors exchange furtive glances and whisper to one another, their conversations halting abruptly when she approaches, leaving her feeling isolated and unwelcome. The front desk staff greets her with forced smiles that fail to mask their discomfort. One nurse, in particular, looks her up and down with barely concealed disdain, muttering something under her breath that Sophia cannot quite catch, but can certainly feel. Sophia tries to brush off the uneasy feeling settling in her stomach, reminding herself that she is here to make a difference in her patients' lives. She carries herself with quiet confidence, but the palpable tension makes it difficult to maintain her composure. She recalls the countless late nights she spent studying and preparing for this moment, and the sacrifices her family made to support her education. Her mother, who worked multiple jobs to provide for them, always instilled in her the importance of resilience and strength. "You have to prove yourself, Sophia," her mother would say. "Don't let anyone's biases hold you back." Her first assignment takes her to the surgical wing, where she hopes to find her footing among her new colleagues. As she enters the brightly lit area, she is greeted by the sight of nurses bustling about, preparing for the day's procedures. The atmosphere is charged with energy, and she feels a flicker of excitement at the prospect of contributing to such vital work. However, her initial interactions do little to reassure her. When she meets Dr. Thomas Reed, a senior doctor with a reputation for being demanding and uncompromising, the encounter is far from warm. Dr. Reed barely makes eye contact as he reviews her credentials, a hint of skepticism evident in his expression. His curt nod feels like a dismissal rather than an acknowledgement, and he swiftly directs her to assist in preparing the operating room. Sophia's heart sinks as she senses his reluctance to engage with her, his behavior suggesting that he does not believe she belongs here. The weight of his indifference stings, and she can't help but feel that he's judging her abilities based on her race rather than her qualifications. As she sets to work, gathering the necessary instruments and sterilizing equipment, she finds herself reflecting on the challenges she has overcome to reach this point. Memories of her family's sacrifices flood her mind. Her mother's relentless work ethic, her father's encouragement to pursue her dreams, and her grandmother's wisdom about perseverance in the face of adversity. These memories fuel her determination to succeed, reminding her that she has faced struggles before and emerged stronger. The initial tasks are mundane but essential, and Sophia channels her energy into them, trying to drown out the whispers and side-eyes from her colleagues. Yet, in the quiet moments between tasks, she can't shake the feeling of isolation. She overhears snippets of conversations, jokes that make her skin crawl, comments laced with prejudice disguised as humor. Each comment feels like a small cut, accumulating into a deep wound of self-doubt. Despite the hostility, Sophia refuses to let the negativity around her define her experience. She draws strength from her upbringing, from the lessons of her family, and from the deep-seated desire to be a role model for others who might feel marginalized. She reminds herself of the late nights spent studying, the years of hard work in nursing school, and her commitment to providing compassionate care to all patients, regardless of their background. As she prepares for the day's surgeries, Sophia takes a deep breath and resolves to not only endure but to thrive. She is here to heal, both physically and emotionally, and she knows that she has the strength to navigate whatever challenges lie ahead. With her head held high and a fierce determination in her heart, she pushes forward, ready to prove her worth and make a positive impact in the lives of her patients. In that moment, Sophia Williams knows she will not let prejudice extinguish her spirit. She will fight for her place in the world of medicine. As Sophia settles into her role at Hopewell Medical Center, the subtle and overt forms of exclusion from her colleagues become increasingly apparent. What initially felt like a bad first day evolves into a grueling routine, filled with whispered comments and sidelong glances. Each encounter reinforces her feeling of isolation, and she begins to dread the moments when she has to interact with the nursing staff. During her shifts, Sophia is often assigned to the most demanding patients, while her white colleagues seem to navigate their workloads with ease. It feels as if she has been marked, a target of sorts for the heavier tasks and the more difficult patients. The imbalance is glaringly obvious. While others take their breaks, she often finds herself scrambling to complete her assignments. The frustration builds within her, as does the realization that her hard work goes unnoticed, overshadowed by the prejudice that colors her colleagues' perceptions. One afternoon, while attending to a patient in room 312, Sophia encounters Mr. Smith, an elderly man who has been admitted for heart issues. From the moment she introduces herself, she feels his hostility. "I don't want you taking care of me," he snaps, eyeing her with disdain. "Get me someone else, a real nurse." Sophia's heart sinks at his words, but she remains composed, her training guiding her through the hurt. "I'm here to help you, Mr. Smith. Let me know what I can do to make you comfortable," she replies, her voice steady, though her hands tremble slightly as she adjusts his IV. Mr. Smith's hostility is just one example of the racial slurs and derogatory comments she endures. Other patients make similarly offensive remarks, and though she tries to brush them off, the cumulative effect weighs heavily on her spirit. Each day feels like a battle, not only to care for her patients but also to maintain her dignity in the face of ignorance and prejudice. In the break room, whispers continue, and she overhears colleagues discussing her as if she's not present. "Can you believe they hired her?" one nurse says dismissively. "It's like they're just checking boxes now." Each comment feels like a blow, and Sophia fights to keep her composure, reminding herself of her purpose. Despite her professionalism, the weight of these experiences begins to take its toll. Sophia grapples with feelings of exhaustion that extend beyond physical fatigue. Her mental and emotional reserves are running low. She often finds solace in the quiet moments when she can step outside for a breath of fresh air, looking up at the sky to regain her perspective. During these moments, she reflects on her family's teachings about perseverance and strength. Her grandmother's words echo in her mind, "Never let them see you break, Sophia. Rise above." As the weeks progress, the microaggressions continue to pile up. A colleague jokingly refers to her as the help, and another casually mentions how surprised they are at how well she handles the stress. Each remark feels like a reminder of her otherness, of the barriers she faces daily. It becomes increasingly difficult for her to maintain her usual optimism, and the isolation she feels grows more profound. Sophia's desire to connect with her colleagues and form friendships remains unfulfilled, as the hostile environment leaves little room for camaraderie. In a particularly difficult week, Sophia faces a traumatic case that tests her resolve. A young patient, a boy named Lucas, comes in after a severe car accident. The emotional toll of caring for him weighs heavily on her, and she throws herself into her work, determined to provide the best care possible. As she treats Lucas, she becomes acutely aware of the disparity in how she is treated compared to her peers. While the other nurses receive praise and acknowledgement from the attending physician, her contributions are overlooked, her hard work rendered invisible. In the midst of this chaos, Sophia's spirit begins to flicker, dimmed by the constant barrage of hostility and isolation. Despite her efforts to remain professional and focused on her patients, the emotional burden becomes harder to bear. She fights against feelings of inadequacy and doubt, wondering if she truly belongs in a place that seems so resistant to her presence. Yet, deep down, she knows she has a purpose, a calling that goes beyond the walls of Hopewell Medical Center. Determined not to let the negativity define her, Sophia resolves to find ways to uplift herself. She starts journaling in the evenings, pouring her thoughts onto the pages, seeking solace in her own words. She reminds herself of her accomplishments, the lives she has touched, and the importance of her work. With each entry, she reaffirms her commitment to her patients and to herself, reinforcing the belief that she can create change, even in the face of adversity. As she enters the next day's shift, the fatigue lingers, but so does her resolve. Sophia Williams stands firm, reminding herself that she is not just a nurse, she is a beacon of hope for those who need it most. With every patient she cares for, she vows to rise above the hostility and isolation, knowing that her journey is far from over. In her heart, she carries the strength of her family and the unwavering belief that she can and will make a difference. As the days drag on at Hopewell Medical Center, the oppressive atmosphere continues to weigh heavily on Sophia. However, a buzz of excitement fills the hospital one morning as news spreads about a VIP patient being admitted. Michael Johnson, a well-known entrepreneur and philanthropist, is in the hospital after suffering a skiing accident. The staff eagerly discusses his reputation and the privileges that come with it, whispering about the high-profile visitors he might attract. While many colleagues jockey for position to impress him, Sophia remains focused on her responsibilities, quietly hoping that this new arrival might shift the dynamics in her favor. When Michael Johnson arrives, he is charming and composed, despite the pain from his injuries. His presence brings an air of optimism to the otherwise tense atmosphere of the hospital. As he is wheeled into his private room, Sophia is assigned to be part of his care team. This time she feels a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this could be a chance to demonstrate her skills and earn the respect she so desperately seeks. From the moment Sophia enters Mr. Johnson's room, the difference in his demeanor is palpable. "Hello there. You must be my nurse," he says warmly, a smile breaking through the tension of his situation. "I'm Michael. Thank you for taking care of me." His friendly tone catches her off guard. It's a stark contrast to the dismissive attitudes she has encountered from both patients and colleagues. "It's my pleasure, Mr. Johnson," she replies, surprised by the relief flooding through her at his kindness. Throughout his stay, Michael shows a genuine interest in Sophia's work. He watches her with keen eyes as she checks his vitals, administers medication, and prepares him for various treatments. Rather than condescendingly critiquing her work, he asks insightful questions and expresses appreciation for her expertise. "How do you manage to stay so calm in all this chaos?" he asks one day as she tends to his needs. Sophia can't help but smile, his curiosity validating her efforts. "I think it's important to focus on the patients and what they need," she replies, her passion igniting as she speaks. As the days pass, their conversations deepen. Michael begins to share stories about his life, his successes, and the challenges he has faced as a black businessman in a predominantly white industry. Sophia listens intently, feeling a connection that transcends their roles as patient and nurse. In return, she opens up about her experiences at the hospital, the challenges of being a black nurse in an environment that often feels hostile. Michael's expression shifts from curiosity to concern as he processes her words. "That's not right, Sophia. No one should have to endure that kind of treatment," he says, his voice firm with conviction. He becomes a source of encouragement and support for her, his unwavering respect reminding her that not everyone shares the prejudices she has encountered. With each passing day, her spirits lift as their conversations become a safe haven amidst the hostility she faces elsewhere. In Michael's presence, Sophia feels seen and valued for her abilities, not just her skin color. It's a refreshing change, and she finds herself looking forward to their interactions, each one serving as a balm to her bruised spirit. One afternoon, as Sophia checks on Michael, he casually remarks, "You know, I've been observing the way some of the staff treat you. It's disappointing to see such talent overlooked." The words resonate deeply within her, affirming her feelings of isolation and the injustices she has been subjected to. "I appreciate you noticing," she responds, her heart swelling with gratitude. "It can be hard to keep my head up some days, but I'm trying to focus on my patients." "I believe in speaking up when I see something wrong," Michael states resolutely. "You deserve better, and I want to help you however I can." His words ignite a flicker of hope in Sophia. The idea that someone with his influence might stand up for her feels almost surreal. She shares her dreams of fostering an inclusive environment in healthcare where everyone, regardless of their background, can feel safe and respected. That's a noble goal, he says thoughtfully. Together, we can make a difference. As Michael's discharge date approaches, he becomes increasingly vocal about his appreciation for Sophia's care. He insists on having her present when he meets with the discharge team, advocating for her skills and dedication in front of the other staff. This is the nurse who made my stay comfortable and who truly understands the importance of patient care, he declares, his voice carrying authority. Sophia stands beside him, humbled and awed by his willingness to champion her cause. In those moments, Sophia feels a swell of pride and recognition that she hasn't experienced in her time at the hospital. Michael's respect for her work and his commitment to addressing the unfair treatment she endures reignite her sense of purpose. She realizes that she is not alone in her fight for respect and equality. With Michael's support, she feels empowered to speak out and demand change. As the day of Michael's discharge arrives, he pulls her aside. "I want to stay in touch, Sophia. Your story needs to be heard," he says, handing her his business card. "And when you're ready, I'll help you take those first steps toward making a difference." Tears well in Sophia's eyes as she nods, overwhelmed by his kindness and belief in her potential. In that moment, she understands that she is no longer just a nurse at Hopewell Medical Center. She is a voice for change, a beacon of hope for those who feel voiceless. As Michael is wheeled out, he turns back to her one last time. "Don't forget, Sophia, you are incredible at what you do. Never let anyone tell you otherwise." With those parting words, he exits the hospital, leaving Sophia with renewed determination. Inspired by his kindness and the promise of support, she resolves to not only continue her fight for herself, but also for her colleagues and future nurses, who may face the same challenges. Sophia Williams is ready to rise above the hostility and isolation, armed with the hope that change is possible. As the weeks at Hopewell Medical Center continue to unfold, the atmosphere remains charged with tension. But Sophia Williams begins to feel a shift within herself. Inspired by her interactions with Michael Johnson and his unwavering support, she is determined to prove her worth in the face of adversity. Little does she know that a pivotal moment is on the horizon that will test her skills and resolve. One day, an emergency alert echoes through the hospital corridors. A trauma case is incoming, and the surgical team is summoned urgently. Sophia's heart races as she watches her colleagues scramble into action, adrenaline coursing through the air. To her surprise, she hears her name called amidst the chaos. "Sophia, we need you in OR 2. We're short-staffed." The lead nurse's voice cuts through the noise, and she can hardly believe her ears. This is the opportunity she has longed for, a chance to showcase her expertise in a critical situation. As she rushes to the operating room, Sophia feels a mix of nerves and excitement. Once inside, she finds herself surrounded by a team of seasoned professionals, including Dr. Reed, who greets her with an air of skepticism. "Let's hope you can keep up," he mutters under his breath, and she feels the weight of his scrutiny. Determined not to let his disdain undermine her confidence, Sophia takes a deep breath and focuses on the task at hand. The patient, a middle-aged man who has suffered severe injuries in a car accident, is wheeled into the OR. The surgical team quickly assesses the situation, and Sophia's training kicks in. She efficiently sets up the necessary instruments, her hands moving with precision. As the operation begins, she assists in monitoring the patient's vitals, her experience and attention to detail shining through in the high-pressure environment. Every instinct honed during her nursing education surfaces, and she quickly falls into a rhythm alongside the surgical team. Despite the intensity of the moment, Sophia remains composed and focused, surprising even herself with her poise. Dr. Reed, initially skeptical, begins to take note of her competence as she anticipates the needs of the surgeons and handles unforeseen complications with skill. "Not bad, Williams," he concedes begrudgingly, though his expression remains guarded. For Sophia, that fleeting acknowledgement feels like a small victory, but it does little to erase the underlying animosity she knows he harbors. Meanwhile, outside the operating room, Michael Johnson, who has returned to the hospital for a follow-up appointment, catches wind of the commotion. Intrigued, he decides to observe the unfolding events from a distance, leaning against the wall near the OR. He watches as the surgical team works diligently, but his attention is drawn primarily to Sophia. He notices how her confidence grows with each passing moment, even in the face of Dr. Reed's withering stares and dismissive remarks. As the operation progresses, Michael begins to discern the subtle dynamics at play within the surgical team. He sees the way some nurses hesitate to acknowledge Sophia's contributions, offering only curt nods or avoiding eye contact altogether. There is a palpable tension in the air, an unspoken rule that seems to dictate how they view her presence in the OR. Michael's heart sinks as he recognizes the discrimination Sophia faces, the barriers that continue to stifle her potential. When the operation concludes successfully, the relief is palpable, and the team begins to congratulate one another. Dr. Reed, however, avoids direct praise for Sophia, instead attributing the success solely to himself and the more senior staff. Michael's disappointment deepens as he observes this dismissal. He watches Sophia, who, despite her exhaustion, stands tall, her eyes sparkling with pride at having contributed to saving a life. Yet the lack of recognition weighs heavily on her shoulders, a reminder of the biases that still permeate the hospital. After the operation, as the team disperses, Michael approaches Sophia. "You were incredible in there," he says genuinely, his eyes shining with admiration. "I saw how you handled everything with such grace and skill. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." A warmth spreads through Sophia at his words. His support feels like a lifeline in a sea of doubt. "Thank you, Michael. It means a lot coming from you," she replies, her voice soft yet filled with gratitude. Sophia shares her experience in the OR, her pride in her performance tempered by the reality of how Dr. Reed dismissed her contributions. "It's exhausting to fight for every acknowledgement," she admits, her vulnerability surfacing. Michael nods knowingly, his expression serious. "I'll speak to him. This kind of treatment is unacceptable," he insists, his resolve strengthening as he considers how he can use his influence to advocate for her. As they converse, Michael's presence reassures Sophia that she is not alone in this battle. They discuss the culture of bias within the hospital and how it stifles not only her potential, but also that of many others. "We need to change this together," Michael asserts, determination etched on his face. "You have the talent. Now we just need to make sure they see it." With renewed determination, Sophia begins to see this moment as a turning point. She understands that she possesses the skills to excel in her role, and she is willing to stand up for herself and others who face similar challenges. Inspired by Michael's support and their shared vision for change, Sophia resolves to take action, determined to foster an environment where talent and dedication are recognized, regardless of race. The following days are filled with a newfound purpose for Sophia. She begins documenting her experiences and the biases she witnesses in the hope of bringing attention to the need for institutional change. With Michael's backing, she starts to formulate a plan to address these issues, preparing to take the first steps toward advocating for herself and her colleagues. As the chapter closes on this tumultuous yet transformative period, Sophia stands at the precipice of change, fueled by her passion for nursing and the hope of a better future for all who work in healthcare. With Michael Johnson by her side, she is ready to confront the challenges ahead, knowing that the fight for equality and recognition has only just begun. In the days following the emergency operation, the tension at Hopewell Medical Center remains palpable. Sophia Williams is filled with determination, spurred on by the support of Michael Johnson, who has expressed a commitment to help her confront the systemic biases at play within the hospital. Meanwhile, Michael's experience as a successful entrepreneur has given him insights into the struggles of marginalized professionals, making him even more passionate about effecting change. One afternoon, as Sophia prepares for her shift, she receives a message from Michael asking to meet. Curiosity piqued, she makes her way to a quiet corner of the hospital cafeteria, where he awaits her with a serious expression. "I spoke to Dr. Reed today," he begins, his voice low but resolute. "We need to address what's happening with you and other nurses who are being treated unfairly." Sophia's heart races. "What did he say?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Michael leans in closer, urgency in his tone. "I made it clear that the way you're being treated is unacceptable. I emphasized that your skills were evident in the operating room and that you deserve respect and recognition." He pauses, gauging her reaction. "I also informed him of my position in the community and my plans to influence hospital policies moving forward." A mix of apprehension and hope fills Sophia. "What do you mean by influencing policies?" she asks. Michael straightens, determination etched on his face. "I'm going to demand changes, starting with a full investigation into the hospital's discriminatory practices. We need mandatory diversity training for all staff and administrative changes to ensure that no one else has to endure what you've experienced." Sophia's heart swells at his words. "You really think you can do that?" she asks, still in disbelief that someone would take such a stand for her. "I know I can," Michael replies firmly. "It's time for people like Dr. Reed to understand that the healthcare system must evolve. It's not just about individual talents, it's about how those talents are recognized and valued, regardless of race." That afternoon, Michael arranges a meeting with Dr. Reed. He walks into the doctor's office with a sense of purpose, ready to confront the entrenched biases that have persisted within the hospital. Dr. Reed is sitting at his desk, a look of surprise crossing his face as Michael enters. "Mr. Johnson, to what do I owe this unexpected visit?" he asks, trying to mask his unease. "I want to talk about Nurse Sophia Williams," Michael states, his voice steady and commanding. "She is a highly skilled nurse who has been subjected to unacceptable treatment from both patients and staff. I witnessed her professionalism in the OR, and it's clear that her contributions are being overlooked because of biases that have no place in a healthcare setting." Dr. Reed's demeanor shifts from surprise to defensiveness. "I don't know what you're talking about. We maintain a professional environment here," he retorts, attempting to deflect the conversation. Michael doesn't waver. "This isn't just about professionalism. This is about systemic issues within this institution. I demand a thorough investigation into the treatment of all staff, particularly those who are marginalized." The air in the room grows thick with tension. Dr. Reed shifts uncomfortably in his chair, realizing that Michael is not someone to be easily dismissed. "You don't understand the complexities of running a hospital, Mr. Johnson. We have procedures in place, and changes can't be made overnight," he counters, trying to regain control of the conversation. Michael leans in closer, his gaze unflinching. "You're right. Change takes time. But it must start now. I'm prepared to take this issue public if necessary. The community deserves to know how this hospital operates, and I will not stand idly by while talented professionals like Sophia are treated poorly. You have a responsibility to create an inclusive environment, and it's time to act on it." Dr. Reed's expression shifts as he processes Michael's words. The reality of Michael's influence and the implications of his threats weigh heavily in the air. "What exactly do you propose?" he asks, his tone shifting to one of reluctant compliance. "First, I want a full investigation into the allegations of discrimination and bias against staff, particularly nurses of color. Second, we need mandatory diversity and inclusion training for all staff members, including leadership, to ensure that everyone understands the importance of a respectful workplace. Lastly, I want to see changes in your administrative practices to support equity in hiring and promotions." Michael outlines, his voice steady and authoritative. Dr. Reed sits back in his chair, the gravity of the situation sinking in. He knows that Michael's influence in the community is significant, and any negative publicity could jeopardize the hospital's reputation and future funding. "I'll need time to discuss this with the board," he finally concedes, but Michael is quick to interject. "Time is not a luxury we can afford, Dr. Reed. You need to act now. The status quo is no longer acceptable. I expect to see a plan of action within the week, or I will escalate this matter publicly." Michael stands, his decision made. Dr. Reed realizes that his position is precarious. He has no choice but to comply. As Michael leaves the office, a wave of relief washes over him. He knows that this confrontation was a crucial step toward addressing the injustices that Sophia and others face daily. He also understands that change won't happen overnight, but he is committed to the journey ahead. Back in the hospital, Sophia receives the news from Michael about his meeting with Dr. Reed. She listens intently, her heart racing with a mix of anxiety and hope. "You really said all that?" she asks, her eyes wide. Michael nods, his expression serious. "And I meant every word. This is just the beginning, Sophia. Together, we can bring about the change that's so desperately needed." Sophia feels a renewed sense of purpose, her confidence bolstered by Michael's unwavering support. She understands that their fight is far from over, but the tide is beginning to shift. With the promise of an investigation and a commitment to diversity training, she knows that they are on the right path toward creating a more inclusive environment at Hopewell Medical Center. As they continue their efforts, Sophia and Michael begin to organize meetings with other staff members, gathering stories and testimonies from those who have experienced similar discrimination. The shared experiences deepen their resolve and highlight the urgent need for change within the hospital. They create a platform where voices that have long been silenced can be heard, igniting a movement that resonates throughout the healthcare community. With each passing day, Sophia feels empowered and emboldened. She recognizes that the fight for equity is not just about her. It's about all the nurses and staff who face discrimination. With Michael by her side, she is ready to lead the charge, advocating for a future where every healthcare professional is respected and valued for their contributions, regardless of race or background. Together, they are determined to transform the culture at Hopewell Medical Center, setting a precedent for hospitals across the country. As the days turn into weeks at Hopewell Medical Center, the momentum for change that Michael Johnson and Sophia Williams have ignited begins to take shape. The hospital administration, recognizing the growing call for reform and the potential fallout from ongoing discriminatory practices, embarks on a series of significant reforms aimed at addressing the biases that have long plagued the institution. The investigation into the hospital's culture reveals a troubling pattern of discrimination, with testimonies from several staff members echoing the experiences Sophia had articulated. With pressure mounting from the community and the board of directors, Dr. Reed is ultimately dismissed from his position. In his place, the hospital welcomes a new leadership team that is committed to fostering an inclusive environment. In the wake of these changes, Michael advocates for Sophia to step into a pivotal role as the Chief Diversity Officer for Hopewell. "You've been at the forefront of this movement, Sophia. Your voice and vision are essential for us to move forward," he says, looking at her with admiration. At first, Sophia is taken aback by the proposal, feeling the weight of the responsibility it entails. "Me? But I'm just a nurse," she replies, her voice tinged with disbelief. Michael shakes his head, smiling. "You're not just a nurse. You are a leader. You've shown resilience in the face of adversity, and you understand the challenges our colleagues face every day. You can help shape the future of this hospital." With encouragement from Michael and the support of the new administration, Sophia takes a deep breath and accepts the position, ready to embrace the challenge ahead. As Chief Diversity Officer, Sophia dives headfirst into her new role. She works closely with the leadership team to implement mandatory diversity training for all employees, focusing on fostering an environment of respect and understanding. Together, they establish a comprehensive diversity and inclusion plan that outlines clear goals, accountability measures, and resources for staff who face discrimination. Sophia organizes workshops and training sessions that address unconscious bias, cultural competency, and effective communication, emphasizing the importance of a diverse workforce in providing quality patient care. She collaborates with community leaders to create partnerships that enhance outreach and recruitment efforts, ensuring that the hospital attracts talent from all backgrounds. Gradually, the hospital culture begins to shift. Employees start to engage in open dialogues about diversity and inclusion, sharing their experiences and learning from one another. Sophia's perseverance and passion for change inspire her colleagues to confront their own biases and to stand up for one another in ways they hadn't before. The walls of silence that once permeated the hospital begin to crumble, replaced by a newfound sense of unity and purpose. Sophia's leadership style, approachable yet resolute, allows her to connect with staff at all levels. She becomes a trusted ally for those who have faced discrimination, encouraging them to share their stories and experiences. Her own journey from an isolated nurse to a figure of empowerment resonates deeply within the healthcare community, showing others that change is possible. As word of the reforms at Hopewell spreads, Sophia's impact reaches beyond the hospital's walls. She is invited to speak at conferences and panels across the Healthcare United network, sharing her experiences and the strategies that have led to success. Her advocacy work highlights the critical need for inclusivity in healthcare, and she becomes a prominent voice for those who continue to face barriers in the industry. In the midst of her transformation, Sophia remains grounded. She regularly meets with her nursing colleagues, encouraging them to share their ideas and concerns. Together, they create a support system where they can advocate for one another and continue to push for positive change within the hospital. The community's response to the changes at Hopewell is overwhelmingly positive. Patients begin to express their appreciation for the diversity of the staff and the compassionate care they receive. As the hospital begins to reflect the community it serves, the importance of inclusivity in healthcare becomes increasingly clear to everyone involved. One afternoon, as Sophia stands in the bustling hallway of the hospital, she receives a heartfelt message from Michael. "I'm so proud of everything you've accomplished," he writes. "You've turned your struggles into a movement that will benefit countless others. Your courage and determination are inspiring." Sophia smiles, knowing that their journey has only just begun. With every challenge they overcome, she feels more empowered to continue advocating for a future where every healthcare professional is respected, valued, and given the opportunity to thrive. She understands that while the road ahead may still hold challenges, the changes they have implemented at Hopewell Medical Center are paving the way for a more equitable healthcare system. As the chapter of her early experiences draws to a close, Sophia reflects on her growth. She has transformed not only her workplace but also herself, emerging as a leader in the fight for equality and justice in healthcare. With a heart full of hope and determination, she looks forward to what lies ahead, ready to inspire others and continue the momentum for change that has taken root at Hopewell. Together with Michael and her dedicated colleagues, she is confident that the seeds of progress they have sown will blossom into a brighter future for all who serve in the healthcare field. Months have passed since Sophia Williams stepped into her role as Chief Diversity Officer at Hopewell Medical Center, and the transformation she has led continues to flourish. The hospital is now a beacon of inclusivity, where staff members of all backgrounds feel valued and supported. Gone are the days of whispered prejudices and dismissive glances. Instead, a culture of respect and collaboration permeates the halls, fostering an environment where every employee is empowered to contribute their unique perspectives. As Sophia walks through the hospital one morning, she takes a moment to reflect on her journey. From her first day, when she sensed the chill of unwelcoming stares, to now, where she has built bridges of understanding among her colleagues, the transformation feels almost surreal. It is a testament to her resilience and unwavering commitment to creating a workplace that celebrates diversity. The changes she spearheaded have not only affected the staff, but have also improved patient care, as the diverse perspectives within the team enhance their ability to connect with patients from all walks of life. Sophia's story has become an inspiration, resonating throughout the broader healthcare community. Her experiences, once confined to the walls of Hopewell, are now shared widely in articles, podcasts, and conferences. She has been invited to speak at various national healthcare forums, where she shares her journey and the actionable steps that led to meaningful change. Each time she steps onto the stage, she recalls the struggles she faced and the strength she drew from her family and community. Meanwhile, Michael Johnson stands proudly beside her, a constant supporter and collaborator. "You've become a symbol of hope for so many," he tells her during one of their discussions. "Your courage has ignited a fire that extends well beyond Hopewell Medical Center." Sophia blushes at the compliment, but knows deep down that this movement is about more than just her. It's about every individual who has felt marginalized and silenced. Together, they launch a series of initiatives aimed at promoting diversity and inclusion within healthcare organizations across the country. They partner with various institutions to develop training programs that not only focus on diversity, but also on the importance of allyship and advocacy. Their efforts lead to the establishment of a national network for healthcare professionals where they can share resources, experiences, and strategies for creating more inclusive workplaces. As Sophia navigates her new role, she is also mindful of the personal growth that has accompanied her professional journey. She embraces mentorship, dedicating time to support younger nurses and other minority staff members who aspire to leadership positions. She shares her insights and encourages them to advocate for themselves and their peers, empowering a new generation of leaders who will continue to champion diversity within healthcare. In her moments of reflection, Sophia recalls the challenges she faced, particularly the emotional toll of microaggressions and isolation. But rather than letting those experiences define her, she has transformed them into fuel for her advocacy work. She recognizes the importance of mental health and self-care in the profession, leading initiatives that promote wellness and resilience among staff. As the sun sets one evening, Sophia sits down to write in her journal, capturing her thoughts about the changes she has witnessed and the journey ahead. "I am grateful for every struggle I faced, as they have led me to this moment," she writes. "Together, we are creating a legacy of inclusivity that will inspire future generations to embrace diversity in every aspect of their lives." The impact of her efforts is felt not just within the walls of Hopewell Medical Center, but throughout the entire healthcare system. Hospitals across the country begin to take notice, inspired by the positive changes seen at Hopewell. The conversations about diversity and inclusion expand, igniting a broader movement that calls for justice and equality in healthcare settings everywhere. As the video documenting her journey closes, viewers are left with a powerful message. Change is possible, and it often starts with one person's courage to stand up and speak out. Sophia's legacy is one of hope and resilience, reminding us all that by coming together, advocating for one another, and embracing our differences, we can create a healthcare system that truly serves everyone. In the end, Sophia understands that her journey is just beginning. With each step forward, she carries the stories of those who came before her and those who will follow. With renewed determination, she embraces the future, ready to inspire others and continue the fight for a healthcare system that is equitable, inclusive, and just for all. Thank you for watching this video. We hope that the story of Sophia Williams and her journey to advocate for diversity and inclusion at Hopewell Medical Center has inspired you. If you found this message meaningful, please give us a thumbs up and share this video. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on the story and any personal experiences related to diversity and inclusion in healthcare. To stay updated with more meaningful content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Together, we can continue to drive positive change in our community. Thank you once again, and we'll see you in the next video.